What's up, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mosen here with MTA 36 for the 16th of November 2018, and today's a special MTA, and we want to talk about a news source that surfaced from, or let's not build it up too much, but we found sources regarding hit rating and weapon skill that could make a slight difference in how we saw things in the past. And we wanted to find out how hit rating and weapon skill actually worked in Classic, and how it is going to work on the official servers, because this is an important thing, right? It could either make or keep humans and orcs way stronger than they, or maybe it was that way, we don't know yet, but it could keep them at a very strong point and leave them very broken, making you have to play human if you want to min-max as a Fury Warrior, for example, or Orc, or not. And we're gonna go with you through these sources here, because we found something quite interesting that were sources, or that are sources from back in the day, and Elite Sturks and other, the forums basically. And so let's jump right into it. First, I want to point out that you probably know I made a video about the hit rating weapon skill. So this is still, like, we've been debating this the whole time, but this was the state of the art for Noisebird and Lightbringer. I haven't been very much in the rating scene as of late. Maybe things have maybe changed, but as far as we can see, this is still the case. With the formula swap when you are at 305 weapon skill, which leaves humans and orcs broken. This is what I've heard from top end guilds. It seems to be still correct for the Lights Hope project. Elysium changed their thing a little bit. There's it's something that they made a custom change. Elysium basically made a custom change to their weapon skill and hit rating calculations. So bear that in mind, and I can maybe provide a picture for this really quick, and you will see how that works there. So just focus on the Lights Out project here at Noisebird. That's how it was. Maybe it's changed, I don't know, because I haven't been melee raiding for a couple of months now, but not too many months, so just bear with us here. It doesn't really matter for the thing that we're talking about right now, because this has been, the video that I made was like the state of the art for a long time. Guilds like Grizzly and other people have confirmed that this was the way, and that made orcs and humans so broken, hence why you saw so many humans and orcs running around as Fury Warriors, right? Because it would make sense. And I'm gonna show you what I mean. So this one is the one that I'm talking about in my video, and this is the one that we were talking about in the recent past. That is what we all know. So first, to clarify, right, this is it's not a Wrath, supposed to be not a Wrath or BC formula, and you can see this here that in patch 2.3, stats on melee weapons granted to increase weapon skill were replaced. So this came later to that, and Cataclysm weapon skill was removed altogether. So this is basically for anything before patch 2.3 and patch 2.0, so this should be a vanilla formula. The thing is, what our suspicion is that private terms always had to guess how things were themselves, and maybe they were putting up these servers and they were using a formula that was in very late vanilla or in early BC or in Wrath maybe, and that's why this came into play, and now it became kind of a canon thing. In theory crafting from private realms, people agree on this. So this is not evaluating which one is better or worse. This is just displaying three different theories, what's going on. Right, so let's jump into this. Now, for the first theory, this is the most sought after, along with the second one. They're equally debatable. This one takes, basically you calculate the mischance of a raid boss, or your mischance against a raid boss, And this happens to put weapon skill and defense skill into the consideration, which is a bit more confusing even. But the thing is this, you take the defense skill of the raid boss and your weapon skill. If the difference between those two is less or equal 10, you get to use a very good formula, the top one. And it says, right, if the difference between the mob's defense skill and your weapon skill is less than or equal to 10, then the formula is calculating your base miss chance against the mob with 5% base miss chance plus defense skill minus weapon skill times 0.1. And that will leave you, if you put in the numbers, with 6%. So basically, human and orc have 6% hit chance, hit cap against raid bosses. If the difference between the mob's defense skill and your weapon skill is greater than 10, anything that doesn't have 305 weapon skill, then the formula for calculating your base miss chance against that mob is 6% base miss chance, plus defense skill minus weapon skill times 0.4. Okay, so anything else that would leave you with 6% plus defense skill minus weapon skill for a non-human, 300 weapon skill, 15 minus 10 is 5 times 0.4, 8%. Interesting is that in this source, for example, down here there's things with level 83 mobs, so this is a Wrath source, seems to be a Wrath source still. That doesn't mean it has to be wrong, because everything for the defense levels are correct from the source, but you would have to wonder, and why is it all of a sudden 8% now? Because we have another source, I'd have to open that real quick. That one, for example, here the source says something else again, right? And this is referring to vanilla again. So this is the best source we have, because these sources actually don't go with. Now the thing is, look, if you Google now, you know, weapon skill or hit rating vanilla, you either go to a source that will tell you 6. Look at this formula here, for example. It will either tell you 6% plus defense skill, blah blah blah, or 7%, like in this one. Now this one is actually a source that has you know, the correct numbers in it. So this is believed to be more accurate, because you know the canon is, if you are non-human, you put the numbers into here, you'll end up at 9% hit cap, basically, for this theory. And these are the actual 60 numbers, and up here it's the same one. So this fits together rather nicely. In the one before that, with the 6%, you would end up at 8% hit cap, which reminds me of BC and Wrath of the Lich King, to be honest. So already in this theory, you can see how, you know, far apart these sites are with, like, that here just is a different number, okay? So you gotta take everything with a grain of salt and see whatever you believe in. It's a thing of believing too, right? We've tested, this worked on Nostarius and Lightbringer. Okay, this worked on Nostarius and Lightbringer. If you were non-human and you had 8% equipped, you would miss. If you had 9% equipped, you would not miss. But with main hand and two-hander. But that doesn't mean anything, and we'll get into that. So this is the first theory, okay, and this is kind of working. Now, there's another theory, and I'm gonna go to the Nostarius forums for that. And there's a couple of people that were saying, let's go to page 1. Here, people asked the same thing, basically, and then people came in. And then you know, Netherfrost came in and said, basically, at least I hope that's correctly, that I remember this correctly, but I'm pretty sure I do, that basically there is a, let me find it, a chance of 5% base for the boss to miss, yeah, and here. And the chance to miss increases by 1% for every level the target is over your character. Example, raid boss skull 3 levels higher max than the max level. So the chance to miss increases by 1% per level, 3% extra chance to miss. So he puts in 5 base chance, and then 3 is 8%. And then since the boss is 3 levels higher, you would have to put into account the increased defense skill over the weapon skill of your you know, compared to you. So basically, for every defense skill point, the enemy is above your weapon skill, he gains 0.04% miss. So if he's 15 points of defense above you, which he is, if you are at weapon skill 300, level 60, and the raid boss is 63, then he would gain an additional 0.6% miss chance to be missed. So those 5% base, 3% per level, and then 0.6 would add up to 8.6% miss chance for the boss. Now, where do these 1% per level come from? I don't know. Nobody knows. We didn't find anything. Any sources for this would be very much appreciated. We didn't find any. This seems to be like a thing that also comes from private realms, believing that if anything is a level higher than you, it just gains a % of miss. We couldn't find anything, hence why the theory 1 that I just explained is more likely and was tested. The problem with this one, theory 2, is that this ends up at 8.6% as well, which is technically 9% hit cap as well, and so it's hard to test this, right? But yeah, these people, or here people say 5% miss, and then 1% base miss chance increases per level above the player, and then the weapon skill to defense difference makes it so that you gain another 0.6, he gains another 0.6 miss chance, leaving you at a hit cap of 8.6%. This is the theory 2, which is pretty close to the other one, but has a major difference, and that is that the weapon skill of a race doesn't factor into the miss chance significantly. You, from being a human or orc, you would reduce the raid boss's miss chance by 0.2, because the difference between his defense level and your weapon skill would still be 10, but you would only gain 0.04 times 5 points of weapon skill. You are above 300 to go against that, because you have 305 weapon skill, which would give you an extra 5 times 0.04 hit. That would reduce the raid boss's miss chance from 8.6 to 8.4%. That would be all if you're human or orc from 5% from 5 points of weapon skill in theory 2. It's a major difference because in the theory 1 that seems to be working, it's the case that your weapon skill is factored into the calculation of the base miss chance. Do you know what I'm saying? And that means it's way stronger. You just gain hit from being 305 weapon skill. If you equip it or if you have it in a ratio, it doesn't matter. If you're gaining weapon skill, your hit chance increases basically. And in this one, it's not the case, but you gain a little bit out of it, but not very much. But as I said, we don't have any sources for this saying that a boss gains 1% hit miss chance for any level he is above the player. So that being said, this is theory 2. Base miss chance per level, and then a little bit of the difference between defense and weapon skill on top, but it's only 0.6%. One more thing that we need to clarify is that the weapon skill always affects the glancing blow penalty reduction. So it's always good, it's always a strong ratio. 305 weapon skill for human orc is always a very good ratio to reduce the glancing blow penalties. Now, very short and very comprehensive and very briefly, glancing blows, 40% of all of your white attacks is a fixed number, you can't change it, are going to glance the enemy. That means they deal reduced damage. And basically, I have this one here. If you want to stop the video here, right here, and you can read through this. And it's from the Vanilla Gaming forums, and basically what it means, it takes into consideration again the defense level of the mob and your weapon skill, and then it calculates, the penalty is calculated by this. 40% are always going to be glancing blows. The only thing you can change is the penalty you get, so you can technically put it to 0% penalty. Glancing blows can't crit though, so you'll have always 40% non-crits with, if you are at max weapon skill have a 0% penalty. This always, you know, if you have plus 10 weapon skill, this is basically negated to 0. And that makes 305, 310 weapon skill always strong, no matter what. Okay, so that is a strong thing no matter what. That needs to be clarified because it would technically, in this scenario, give humans a 0.2% increased hit rate against raid bosses and still the glancing blow. In theory 1, you would gain 3% hit and the glancing blow reduction, which would be broken. And used to be broken on the servers. That's why everybody went, you know, you gotta be, even as a main tank, you kinda had to be human. Now, again, not saying this is right or wrong, these are the theories that we have, okay? Very important to notice this. Now, we checked some sources from back in the day that we found on forums and Elitist Jerks and a couple of other sources. And I think also Gamepedia. And Gamepedia says, for example, that here, this example considers a 63 mob, right? A dual wielder. Now, dual wield gets a penalty of 19% on all of the attacks. So the miss chance, if you subtract the 19%, you would end up at 5.6% miss chance against a 63 boss. It becomes more clear here because this is what we're looking at, the two-hand and one-hand weapon miss chance. So against a 63 mob, Gamepedia states that in vanilla you would have a 5.6% miss chance. And this example would say that there is nothing of all these sorts of the theories that have been going on the private servers. There's only a 5% base miss chance of a raid boss. It doesn't get increased with level. The only thing that increases is 0.6 because the 63 raid boss of course has a higher defense level. Again, he's 15 defense level, points above a player with 300 skill. That means 0.04 times 15 leaves you at 0.6. That gets added on top, and that's it. This would mean that your hit cap is technically soft hit cap would be 5%, hard hit cap would be 6%, and if you're a human, you would get another 0.2% hit against this, and which would leave you at a 5.4% miss chance against raid bosses. Now you could say, hey, this is Gamepedia, this is the third source that just says something differently. I don't know what to believe anymore. And you're right about that. We don't either. Then we found a couple of testings. Now you can see this is an archive from the WoW forums, WoW Europe forums, from the 25th of August 2006. And it came in from Zoroaster, whatever, Obsidian Order Agrimar. We could get a hold of this guy, that would be awesome. And he's basically talking about rogues and, you know, hit ratings and stuff. And what is interesting is that he ran tests basically, yeah. And he ran tests, and this is the outcome of this. And he's trying to explain this. First, he's testing against a level 60 mob, which is not interesting for us. And you can see, okay, you can say, there's a 5% miss chance against a level 60 mob, makes perfectly sense, but then he's testing against a 63 mob. And he's testing this with 0 weapon skill, okay? 0 weapon skill. And the outcomes are... here, yellow attacks, that's the main hand attack miss chance. 5.6% miss chance. 0.6 from weapon difference in skill. This basically confirms the source we had before, and the source that there's not actually anything else factoring into this. He also states with dual wield 24.6. Now if you subtract the 19% penalty from this, you end up at 5.6%. This also, he also states, by the way, this is interesting, that it doesn't matter if you're fighting a 63 mob or a level 60 mob. With dual wield, you always have the 19% penalty, even against same level mobs, which is bad for Furies, kind of. Next source would be Elitist Jerks. Now, this is a post from Vulagin, and November 15th, 2006. And he made 5,924 swings, and the misses were 1%. And this is the source from Elitestrix, and you can check that one out as well. Right. And by the way, our sources were from DPS Mate, where we could and the raids, legacy players recorded raids, where you could actually see how many things, how many attacks you missed, etc., etc. Of course, nowadays this is a little bit easier to analyze, but still a lot of work. So you know. Then there's another source, which is here, and it's again like a rogue guide, basically. They wanted to point out something else, but the tests they ran and the, you know, the things behind that were basically assuming the same thing. These are like the this is from, by the way, so you know this is legit. What a long guide from Legos Burning Legion, and this came in 29th of December 2007. Okay, so yeah, this is another source. You can go through this yourself and see where it is. I'm just trying to tell you where it is. Here it is. Alright, 5% miss rate against a mob whose defense is equal to your weapon skill. And then he goes on to say there's another, you know, there's another miss chance that factors into this. Basically going into hit chance. You'd have to scour through this, you know, to see where exactly it is. I think it was down here somewhere. It's a huge guide for rogues, so basically that's the one. The most there are things in this you just have to see where it is, and also from the elitist jerks, people going ham on this. And here, interestingly enough, in this Nostaria's forum post, at the very end, there's a guy coming in named Ectelion, and Ectelion says the exact same thing, right? And it, you know, all there is really to do is calculating 0.04 extra hit for any point of weapon skill you have, and there's a 5% mischance, and that's it, basically. And this is interesting, and you know, there's a lot of things that are very unclear, and this just, you know, leaves us questioning how it really used to be, and we want to know. So if you have any ideas on how this used to work, let us please know. I made a forum post on the EU forum describing the issue here, so if you want to surf over there, I'm gonna provide the link for this as well. And I will probably for now leave you with this, but you know, there's a lot of stuff to discuss. Maybe it's very simple, we just didn't see one big factor. If you know anything, put it in the comments below, please, and because this could be very important. If they just take what's been happening on Nostarius, or before that, or just take the common canon, it could end up at somewhere of 8.6% versus 5% versus 9%. Human and Orc could be very, very strong, or just a little bit stronger due to glancing blow penalty reduction, or it could be completely out of the equation, or yeah. And in the last example, for example, it would be that two-hand weapon specs would be very strong, for example. You know, two-hand warrior in raids, you know, with, you know, when you swing the Nightfall in raids as a two-hand MS warrior, that would be much more effective now, because you only need 5.6% hit with a two-hander, and Fury warriors would need 24.6% with a one-hand with a dual wield. And it didn't matter if you know, you wouldn't get so much of a benefit from being human there, because now Fury warriors would have the 9%, but you would get a lot of you know, bonus from being human, for example, and that would leave you at 6% plus the penalty. And that would be, if you get even more weapon skill, this reduces it even more, and you have less glancing blows, etc., etc. It would just make two-hand specs more viable and even out the races a little bit more. So this could be a big thing for you and me, because to be quite honest, I don't really want to play a human main tank anymore, but if it's so strong that you gain 3% hit, of course you're gonna do it. Of course you're gonna do it. And it's gonna stay strong no matter what, but it's gonna even it out a little bit more. Or it's completely different. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you enjoyed this theory craft MTA. Yeah, things like this get me thinking, you know how it is. And again, please, this is not about this being right, this guy being right, or this guy being right. It's 3 theories that have equal sources, but the last one we found has sources from 2005, people testing it. So I think that's a pretty good example of how you can actually find some good sources. And maybe what we've been playing with was a you know, private server thing, and we should be careful taking anything that has been scripted on private servers for granted into the vanilla. And this has nothing to do with no changes. You know, we should go look for the no changes and stuff and see how it really was. And with that, I'll leave you and wish you a pleasant day. Please don't read too much, or I will be very displeased indeed. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.